Hello, it's George the Fragrance Apprentice here, and I made the decision in September on my birthday to not drink for a whole year, and so far so good. Now some of you asked me, George, why did you decide to stop drinking for a year? I got quite seriously ill in April and it just made me want to take my health more seriously. And alcohol is not the only thing that I've quit actually. I've also quit dairy, can't really quit carbs, but I'm basically only eating sweet potato and quinoa. So there's a lot of stuff going on and my weight is down and I want to stay thin, or as thin as I am, for a period of time, because I was getting pretty chunky back there at the beginning of the year. Just go back to videos that I was uploading in January, February, March. I was a big boy. I'm enjoying my jawline and my thin neck at the moment, and unfortunately whiskey would very easily put that on. And not just that, but I do like a challenge. I do enjoy challenging myself. So yes, nearly 3 months not drinking, and then only 9 months left. Maths right there, ladies and gentlemen. But I've always talked about whiskey on this channel. I am a very proud Scotsman and I do adore it. I adore Edinburgh and I've tried lots of whiskies in Edinburgh. So this is a fun, different video. You'll be able to see one of my different interests. Please don't expect the same sort of connoisseur snobbiness in this list as you would a Fragrance Apprentice list. I do love my whiskies. Some of these whiskies are quite cheap, but I've had some really good times with them. I've also thrown up with some of these whiskies. It's been a rough ride, but here, if you've been interested, are my 10 favourite whiskies of all time. Honourable mention, of course, Chivas Regal. I've got that here. Lovely, lovely whiskey. It's what considered to be the best blended whiskey of all time. Blended is a combination of different single malts, rather than a traditional single malt, which is made in a traditional way, which is some form of extraction of the alcohol, turn it into air, and then put it into liquid, and then spat out the other end as 40-50% alcohol. Then they put it in barrels. Interesting fact, you cannot market a whiskey as a Scotch unless it has been at least in an oak barrel in Scotland for, I think it's 8 years. Anything below that, you can't sell it as Scotch. You can't have the royal emblem of approval. So yeah, there's some strict measures. Also, if it's been in a barrel 8 years anywhere outside of Scotland or the Scottish Islands, it's not Scotch, can't call it that. So it's a very, very strict thing. There's different islands of Scotland that represent the different types of whiskey. You have the Lowlands, you have Speyside, you have Islay, you have the Highlands. I'm somewhat familiar with this, but I don't know, I don't feel as though I do. I love it, but I don't have that much research on it. So here we go. First two are what's known as blended whiskies. Like I said, it's not a single malt, it's blended, so it's usually a lot of different single malt whiskies that are usually owned by one big company, and they'll mix all the whiskies together and you'll get a blended whiskey. So number 10 is, I think it's just called Black Bottle. Oh my days. This is about 18 to 20 pounds. It's one of my favourite whiskies. I drank this an egregious amount in my youth. And it's nice. It's actually quite lovely. It's nothing compared to some of the single malts that I'll be talking to you about. But this with some lemonade, freshly cut lemon and lime, put it in. You're allowed to put a couple ice cubes in with blended whiskies, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not gonna judge you for that. If I ever drink Black Bottle with lemonade, I sincerely get PTSD about times that I had in film school and times that I had on canal boats. I won't get into that here. And second, probably my preferred blended is Grant's Triple Wood. That's lovely, really lovely. It's a bit strong and it's not very smooth. It's a bit spiky, but it is nice. But it's lovely. It's woody. Goes really, really well with cola. This is a whiskey that goes incredibly well with different mixed drinks and different sodas and stuff like that. So that's really nice. And gorgeous looking bottle as well. I love the Grant's bottle designs. They're lovely. I miss them so much. Number 8 is so you have bourbon, American whiskey. But you got to be careful because purists would say that Jack Daniel's is not bourbon. It's a Tennessee sour mash, and these are two separate things. So essentially that's basically just Jack Daniels, and I think, no, Jim Beam is bourbon. So what I'm about to reveal to you is my favorite Tennessee mash, Tennessee sour mash. I like Jack Daniels to a point, but you know, it's just so juvenile. The honey liqueur is an absolute guilty pleasure of mine. I had a lot of that at film school. The cinnamon one sucks. The apple one is it's kind of becoming insulting. But they also have two separate Jack Daniels. One is single barrel, which is nice, but my favorite Jack Daniels ever is Gentleman Jack. So it is, I think, double charcoal mellowed, which means it's burnt twice over, and this gives it more of a vanilla palate. And of course, if you know me and you know my fragrances, I love vanilla. I love the note of vanilla. This is Jack Daniels, but more woody. You can definitely tell it's Jack Daniels. More vanilla-y, smoother, really good. And the bottle is just beautiful. Look at this bottle. It's so cool. I've owned this a couple times, and it's just so cool. I don't want to drink it. I just want to put it, you know, on the set or something. I mean, Chivas Regal is nice, but I have been thinking of replacing it with Gentleman Jack. So then we go into bourbons. And I do like my bourbons. One of the best bourbons that you could get is Blanton's Single Barrel. It's quite pricey. Beautiful bottle design. Incredible. Super duper smooth. Super pleasant. And it's got that general bourbon taste. Bourbon is, of course, sweeter than single malt. It's actually more in line with certain Irish whiskies. This is where things get a bit silly. You can have like a single malt in an oak barrel that previously had bourbon in it, and so the bourbon soaks into the wood, and then you put the Scotch single malt. And so there are whiskies that can taste like bourbon and bourbon that tastes like single malt. It's all over the place. But Blanton's is, if I'm going to have a bourbon, I actually much prefer good old American tasting bourbon. And yeah, Blanton's is really high quality and great. So get to number 6. I think this is my first single malt on the list. I can never say this. Burnabayan 12 year. Burnabayan 12 year. Chocolatey, actually. Yeah, this is like a nice, somewhat peaty single malt, but with a little bit of chocolate and some really kind of like dark resins in there. It's a mouthful. It's delicious, absolutely delicious. I actually have single malt with ice, 1 ice cube. Some people consider that to be a sin, some don't. I think that this one is probably, well, the thing is, if you have an ice cube in the single malt, that will mellow the flavour. And with some, you don't want to do that, which I'll talk to you about. But some can be a bit too harsh, like this one. And if you just put the ice in, it just kind of mellows the flavour profile, and it's really lovely. Reasonably priced, very good, love it. Number 5, probably my favourite standardised basic single malt. This is like, to me, the ultimate go-to single malt. If you've never tried single malts before, or if you have and you've tried them with mixers, I forbid you. I forbid you to put any cola or Fanta or any pop or sugar, or I swear to God, if I find out that one of you has put Mountain Dew in single malt, I'm not calling the police because I'm coming to your house. Single malt whiskey is a very sacred thing. You can do it with blendeds, you can put mixers with blendeds, you can even put mixers to sort of regular quality bourbons, like Gentleman Jack with cola is delicious. Lemonade, not so much, but Gentleman Jack and cola is, oh, chef's kiss, beautiful. But yeah, Isle of Arran, it's an island whiskey, and so it's got this heady, like, wood element, and you can definitely get the oak barrel in the taste. And it's so clean and so pure, and the water that they use on Arran is just so high quality. So what you get is this incredible smoothness, almost wateriness. You taste the wood, you taste the vanilla, but yet there's this lovely, clear, translucent element as well. It's wonderful. Isle of Arran 10 year is great. If you're uncertain about single malts and uncertain about having whiskey neat, get Isle of Arran 10 year. It's delicious. We now actually get to my favourite bourbon of all time. I would treat myself sometimes to this on my birthday. but I didn't have it this time. In fact, I haven't had this bottle of whiskey for 2 or 3 years. Don't know why. It's delicious. This is my favorite bourbon of all time, if you've wondered. I think it's from the same company that does Buffalo Trace, which is another great bourbon, but this is even better. This is called Eagle Rare. Delicious, sweet, kind of rich in some ways. Delicious, delicious bourbon. Amazing. I would have this one neat. I'd have this one not even with an ice cube. I'd just have this neat with a drop of water, because it's probably one of the smoothest bourbons ever. Bourbon can be, like Jim Beam, can be very, stingy, and it can go down your throat. When it hits the back of your throat, neat, you want to call the fire brigade. It is serious, serious stuff. But Eagle Rare is much smoother. This goes beautifully as a old-fashioned, or here's what you do. Just get some Eagle Rare, put some water in, or if you want to put an ice cube, that's fine. If you want to do Coca-Cola, okay. But whatever you do, get a tangerine, cut it in half, and just spritz the orange juice into the whiskey. Not too much, not too little, just right. Delicious, absolutely delicious. Very, very autumnal, and great for winter as well. Okay, so now we get to my top 3. I don't feel as though I've not got into whiskey anywhere near as I have in fragrance. But from my perspective, these 3 whiskeys truly are special. They're 3 of the greatest whiskeys I've ever had. They're delicious, they're tantalizing, they're wonderful things to get fucked up on. And as you're getting fucked up on these whiskeys, know that you're being a connoisseur as you're doing it. Now, my taste is sweet. I like sweeter whiskies. I have time for Lafroig, which is really like the most peatiest, wildest. It basically tastes like peat, soil, and seaweed. I sometimes have time for that. I'm up for it, but it's not my thing. Number 3, Glenmorangie, 12-year La Santa. Oh, this is delicious. Oh, this is like a dessert. This is absolutely, luscious, 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 luscious. I discovered this in Edinburgh by accident. I wanted the regular Glenmorangie 12-year, and there were 2. There's the regular Glenmorangie 12-year. She gave me the La Santa, and La Santa is with sherry. So it's the Glenmorangie, which is already great. That's what I was ordering initially, but it's got this sherry cask. So it's been housed in barrels that have had sherry in it, and the sherry leaks into the whiskey, and it does that for 12 years, and it's delicious, absolutely delicious. And so you get the woodiness and the sherry, and it is divine. And I'd take it over sherry at Christmas. So absolutely amazing, wonderful. Number 2 is Highland Park 25. This is a very, very expensive whiskey because it's 25. All the numbers mean years. So 12 Glenmorangie 12-year La Santa, that's been in an oak barrel for 12 years. In theory, the more years it's been in, the richer and the woodier and the more flavorful it should be. That's not always the case. Don't fall for that. That can be sometimes just marketing lying to you. But Highland Park 12 is lovely. Highland Park 18-year is good. But Highland Park 25... So Highland Park has got that peatiness that I described, that Lafroig has. But it also has this nice, really sort of solid backbone of just an oak barrel. And there's a little bit of sweetness just underneath. To me, this is kind of like Highland Park whiskey is many of the different ideals and many of the different disciplines of the Highland whiskies and the islands combined together into one whiskey. It's delicious. When I taste Highland Park 25, I'm tasting sort of like, my taste buds are going all around Scotland. It really is like a tour of Scotland in one drink, and it's beautiful. 25-year is very expensive. It's the last drink that I had, actually, before I went on this dry run. In fact, it was older than 25 years. It was 1992, which is when I was born. So the last whiskey that I had with Chris in Edinburgh was as old as me, which was great. And that was a Highland Park 25-year. So it's very important, very special. But what's my favourite whiskey of all time? So it's an Isle of Arran. It's only £40, which might be a lot, but hey, I review fragrances that cost, 140, 150 quid, so what can you do? This is only £40, and it's my favourite whiskey ever. If you buy this, you'll be owning my favourite whiskey. It's the Isle of Arran again, and it's the port finish. And so this is beautiful vanilla Isle of Arran, which I already love. That's the 10-year that I just mentioned. You put it into a port oak barrel, and you give it a port finish. I don't know what that really quite means. All I can tell you is it's a dream, and it's one of the most drinkable whiskies ever. I have gotten absolutely plastered on this drink. It's a dangerous drink, especially if you like port, if you like red wine, if you like that, things like that. But if you like red wine, sherry, port, and whiskey, this is deadly because it's so smooth. You forget you're drinking whiskey. You don't have to put any ice cubes in, just a little bit of water, which does enhance the flavor with this one. I can have shots of this, not think about it, because it's just so delicious, just so smooth. I don't get any burn, and it's amazing. Yeah, I've had a little bit too much of this, a little too many times, but that's my favorite whiskey because it's so freaking drinkable, so delicious, so fun, and it's got some of my favorite things. I love cherry, I love vanilla, I do like port. Yeah, it's a proper great whiskey drink, and it's my personal favorite. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this different video. I just thought, seeing as Christmas is coming very soon, that I talk about this. You can either think of this for gifts for people, or something that you can get yourself. Anyway, I'm the Fragrance Apprentice. I really appreciate you watching, and if you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to give more than just a like, there is always the PayPal that you can donate to, which goes towards future videos on this channel. I appreciate it. Thank you.